We love a bit of teasing here at the InTouchStream Masters.
I think it's all for God.
Like I said, maybe it got drowned out because of the clapping, but we do love a bit of teasing here at the InTouchStream Masters. That's why Rotterdam's here. Welcome to the desk again, boys. A lovely purple shirt.
Thank you,
I had a purple one on yesterday, I think it was. Purple is a great colour for these shirts.
Especially on you, Sean. It really brings out your eyes.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I always think black does. But if you say so, Rotterdam, you are the man with the style.
Every time I'm here with you guys, like...
You're just the other one. I get it.
The cringe is like maximum.
You're the third leg in this relationship, Todd. I'm so sorry. Let's take a quick look at the bracket to check in with it as we've reached the halfway point of the day here on Saturday in the quarterfinals. We have the first semi, Sue and Fantasy, determined for tomorrow. And now it's time to go to the second half of the day. 2 best of 5s remaining. It's Nerchio versus MMA coming up next. Team Acer go head-to-head. And of course, later on is the big one, 4GG versus Innovation. But let's get our head around this match coming up. This is a match we've seen a couple of times in the past now. And it's never, ever gone in favor of Nerchio, Roddy McCoddy.
All right, but I mean, this is still the match that I was looking forward to the most at the start of the day, even though the TvT looks, of course, incredibly sick. But I really hope that we see some old school Nerchio magic. Like 2012 Nerchio, we could pretty much put him up against anyone, and he would always put up a good fight. He even made it to the finals once of an InTouchStream Masters Cologne. That was 3 years ago. Back then, he lost in the final against MVP, but he has been an absolute beast. And he looked so good in the group stage, man. He looked surprisingly good. It wasn't even undeserved or that he sneaked his way through the group stage. Like, no, he deserved to win that group. He was the best player in that group on that day, and I really hope he's going to put up a good fight.
What do you think about this series then, real fast?
Yeah, on one hand, you have MMA, who, like you said, he's like 6-0 against Nerchio, and I think he's like 13-2 in maps. So you're like, well, I guess MMA just wins, right? You Thermal earlier on this desk in an interview said, I hope I play Nerchio because when I play Nerchio compared to other Zergs, I just attack and he has nothing. So looking at all that evidence, you're like, MMA clear win, right? But at the same time, we were kind of counting out Nerchio in the group stage, and he showed us a lot of good things already. Roddy talked about it. Nerchio is one of the guys, that once upon a time was a title contender for a lot of tournaments he entered. He was second best, foreign player after Stefano. And he definitely has some fire in him. He's already showed it in this tournament. So can he find that again and beat MMA? It's going to be hard, but it might be possible.
All right, well, we'll see if the possible can come true here. Let's talk a little bit about MMA then. So MMA, he's played in multiple InTouchStream Masters tournaments. This is his 4th one, actually. He's been a 2-time semi-finalist, which is a great record to have in the InTouchStream Masters. And he's 1 step away from getting another one. But in this tournament, he hasn't looked the best. And in his recent results and recent couple of tournaments, he also hasn't looked the best, and that's then reflected into his current standing in the WCS ranking, his recent finishes in tournaments. Why is he not quite the same player he was just 6 months ago?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, because when he moved back to Korea, a lot of people did not expect to hear a whole lot from MMA anymore. They're like, yeah, it's great that you got runner-up at BlizzCon last year, but yeah, that was a great run and that could happen once, but you got most of your points by beating up on foreigners. So when you go back to Korea, man, you're going to have a very rough time. Made it into the semi-finals of the GSL in the first season.
Yeah.
Like, such a great run. So from that point on, I was like, man, I love it, because I have always been a little bit of an MMA fan. He's just such a cool guy to cheer for, and he was proving all the doubters wrong at first, but now I'm really not sure what to contribute it to. And I agree with you, by the way. In the first day, he didn't look flawless at all, and he played against Sue, correct, in Group A,
and it wasn't close.
No, it wasn't even remotely close. So maybe Nerchio can even take some pointers from those games.
He made a very interesting tweet actually back then when he had the very good GSL run that he had not too long ago. He wrote something like form is temporary, class is permanent, and I think that's, I guess, describes him pretty well. He's been around forever. He had some epic games against Don Gregu and Metalopolis back in the GSTL, the good old days. He was one of the first guys, to be very consistent with everything, his upgrades, his macros, his drops. And he's still there today. Not doing nearly as well, but he also has a lot of potential, and we all know that.
Yeah, it feels like he's lost a bit of spark. I'm not sure where that's gone exactly, but when you look specifically against Zerg, he's having trouble recently. His stats on the internet are bringing him down when his matchups come against Zerg. He's trying mech, it's not working. He's going back to bio, he's losing. It seems like he's lost there, Roddy.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. But what Todd said as well, MMA is kind of category bomber, Polt, Every now and then you think that, okay, their glory time is kind of over, they're still good, but they don't really have the X factor anymore. And then they prove you wrong time and time again. But I do agree with you. Over the last few months, it just didn't look super impressive, and in particular against Zerg.
Well, his opponent, a Zerg player, if you didn't know, of course, Nerchio from Poland. He's played in more Intel Extreme Master tournaments than anyone else. He's been around forever. Of course, you mentioned he's a finalist a long, long time ago, back in 2012. He here stands today again in another Intel Extreme Masters tournament. And to be fair, didn't have a lot of hype around him coming into this tournament. But when we actually saw him play, he kind of just said, "Hello, do you remember me? I used to be one of the best in the scene." And even in the interviews I conducted with him after, he said, "I actually still consider myself one of the best. I don't know why everyone thinks I'm not."
It goes back even further than that. Most people did not expect him to qualify. Nerchio qualifying, making it through those European qualifiers that are often pretty damn stacked. Because, of course, as soon as you qualify for an Intel Extreme Masters, that's guaranteed prize money. And Cologne is also such a convenient location that pretty much every single European wanted to be here. So they all signed up for the qualifier, and he made it through. That was already surprising on its own. And then in Group D, he looked great. And yeah, I like it when Nerchio is still a little cocky, a little arrogant, because he has all the right to be so. He has won over $130,000 playing StarCraft. Not many foreigners can say that.
And he's had a bit of success in Zerg vs Terran in the past. He's won tournaments on it. He's had high finishing results on it as well. And the matchup hasn't changed really at all in recent times. Of course, there is these very fast, aggressive Hellbat pushes, but he knows this matchup inside out, Todd.
Yeah, he does. And the thing also, like, I think one of the very important things here in StarCraft is that when a player doesn't play that many tournaments and you kind of falls off the surface here of StarCraft, people kind of start counting him out. And it's kind of what happened, I feel, with Nerchio, where he still plays a few online tournaments, but not that many that people will actually like see him as an active, pro gamer that's doing really well. So they're like, yeah, he's probably not doing that well, right? I think he's currently ranked 1 or 2 in the Takes tournament, Lotus, Legacy of the Ultras. So he's doing really well. That's a pretty, that's a single group with a lot of good players. So he's been playing a lot of Legacy of the Void, which, to be honest, even though it's different than Heart of the Swarm here, he's probably had enough time to, refocus on Heart of the Swarm, really think about his games hard, and it showed already how well he played earlier in the group stage.
And what I think is important to mention as well is that even when he's playing a lot of Legacy, Nerchio is a very active member in this community. Like, open up any report on Team Liquid, Nerchio will be there. He's always commenting, he's always watching, often tweeting it as well. So even when he doesn't play that much Heart of the Swarm, he's still watching it all the time. And it's not like his mechanics are getting rusty, because he's still playing the same game. So of course he has to tweak his, maybe, his timings a little bit, but he's still got it, and he definitely still has the knowledge and he has the mechanics to execute what he wants to do.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. The game is ready. It's time for the third quarterfinal of the day. 2 teammates go head-to-head. Only 1 slot available to go to Gamescom for the top 4 of the Intel Extreme Masters.
Welcome back to the casting desk. I am Pig, and joining me is Moonglade. How are you feeling going into this game, Moonglade?
Oh, I'm very excited for Terran versus Zerg. We've seen a lot of the other matchups so far this tournament in general, but we haven't had a really juicy Terran versus Zerg just yet. And I think we are going to see it with these players because they are teammates, and I think it's going to be a pretty close one.
Yeah, I mean, the guys on the desk were talking about the history. Like, MMA has never lost a set to Nerchio, but most of that was in 2013 and 2014. They've only played once this year. It was a 2-1 win for MMA, so going in here, it might actually be the time where Nerchio can come out and pull us into some big, meaty macro games.
Yeah, Nerchio's kind of came out of, I wouldn't say he came out of nowhere, but he's certainly had a lot more success in those earlier years as well. Now he's back. He's made it to the round of 8. Same with MMA, and I think it's going to be pretty close.
All right, let's hop into Coder and see where these guys go. A very important Zerg vs Terran match here. Our Terran representative playing for career. Spawning here on the right-hand side, it is MMA.
Been a long time since we've seen some success from MMA in a big tournament. And up here in the top left, we do have the red Zerg player. He is Nerchio.
Two players that have been in the scene for a long time. Nerchio up there, as stable and focused as ever. Always looking very calm and in control when he's playing on the stage.
Definitely some of the most experienced players we have here in StarCraft 2 as well. Both coming around near the start and both having a lot of success, especially in their regions.
For MMA, as they were saying, he wants to get back on top. He had such a great, fast start to the year with that top 4 finish. Last year was fantastic, runner-up at BlizzCon, but I think this is one of his opportunities, you know, with some early kind of knockouts in Season 2 and 3 of Star League and GSL. He really wants to come here and show what he's made of once again.
Yeah, he certainly took a pretty big break this year. After that initial GSL run, he kind of like took a step back. He didn't find the success he had. Certainly looking at this as a big opportunity. So we see these builds start to unwind. We are seeing a pretty standard sort of Reaper opening and just a hatch first.
Yeah, very good choice on this map for both players. The Reaper opening being quite strong as the Reaper can hop up that ledge into the main bases from very early on. And, you know, going for that hatchery first, very typical so far. No sort of early pull first build. Nerchio actually following up with a 15 pull. So he's gone for a slightly faster one. He knows that MMA is such a good micro player, so he's going to make sure he's got those Zerglings out plenty early.
That's right, and you know, it is Nerchio after all, and if one thing we have seen, you know, yesterday in previous matches, he's a very safe opener. He's never really taken many chances. With his build orders, he wants to take it to the late game. That's where he's always, you know, kind of swinging towards. If he can get there, he's in the most comfortable place he can be.
Oh, look at this. Nice, very safe play from Nerchio. As you were saying, the drone coming out right at the timing to check, is there a proxy barracks out here? Are there any SCVs or Marines coming in right now? He's just being completely safe because he knows MMA. MMA in the past has found a lot of success against Zerg by mixing in those 2-Rax plays.
2-Raxes, proxy Reapers, a lot of cheeky play does come from MMA, and Nerchio just looking for that peace of mind early game so he can, you know, try and transition later and later and get to where he needs to be.
I like how Funker just showed us the command center. MMA actually opted to put that on the high ground, maybe expecting some early Zerglings out of a pull first build. The Reaper is now going to come in, actually getting quite a bit of damage done on these drones. He's going to pick up 1 drone kill. Very, very nice to start the game.
Kind of a surprise as well, you know, it's usually kind of unheard of when you see these build orders, especially when you see the timing of that spawning pool, that a drone would go down from just a single Reaper opening.
A little bit of an error at the start from Nerchio. MMA microing impeccably here with this Reaper. Does pick up another Zergling kill as well. This Reaper doing everything it wants to do. Putting pressure on the Zerg, forcing him to be distracted from his macro, and just being as annoying as possible while gathering all the information. He's staying in the main base because he wants to spot, are you mining gas? Are there any cheeky plays you can try to do here? And even forcing more lost mining time on those drones.
And you know, every kill he gets, or at least every piece of damage he does, every building he forces to be made to save the drone, it's kind of getting into Nerchio's head just a little bit. It can be a very frustrating start to a series, especially if you're dropping drones to a single Reaper harassment.
We can already see the 3rd Queen isn't out very fast, but oh, a really nice catch there with the Zerglings from Nerchio. MMA getting a little bit too cute. He really annoyed Nerchio a lot there, and guess what? Because he was so distracted, we didn't see it on screen, but Nerchio forgot to pull his Overlord away from the natural. MMA ran down there with his 4 Marines, sniped that Overlord down, and that supply blocked Nerchio. So we can see, look at this, he's got so much money and he's just stuck on 36 supply, just delaying his droning. And these little edges MMA is getting are looking very promising.
Yeah, frustrating game to start things off for Nerchio, but he doesn't seem like the kind of person that's going to let it get to him, at least after 1 game. So we do see Link Speed finish up here. He should be pretty safe against any sort of Hellion aggression, at least on his creep. So that creep is still in its very infant stages in terms of coming out into the map. Only 1 creep queen and only 1 tumor active.
Nerchio feeling threatened here, feeling like he's a little bit on the back foot, is going for that fast spine crawler there. And because that early Overlord died, keep in mind, Nerchio has no idea what's going on in MMA's base. If we look at his vision, he sees absolutely nothing here. Or for all he knows, there could be a big Hellbat attack coming, there could be Banshees, and this puts Nerchio in the awkward position of having to prepare for just about everything.
Yeah, when this is actually the worst kind of place to be as a Zerg player at this stage of the game. Is it going to be 3 command centers? Is it 2? Is it a 2-base timing? Is it a mine drop with Marines? You just don't know until it actually starts to get onto your creep. It starts to move onto the map, which you do not have any map vision of, apart from these Lings running by.
Absolutely. The Zerglings, though, did spot the medevac coming, and they are running into the undefended natural. There was no complete wall yet, forcing a lot of lost mining time, forcing the Hellions to return home. Meanwhile, that medevac is boosting towards the main base. It is going to be heading in there. More Zerglings are on the way, but they're not out just yet.
Certainly not yet, and he's going to need a lot more than that. A lot are coming in, and some are hatching out here, but still the Widow Mines remain, and if he can find a good place to plant them, they could do a lot of damage.
Oh, look at that. Burrowing those mines in the cracks so the Zerglings could not get the surface area. Targeting that 1 drone does take out 6 drone kills. Oh, a very nice start to this aggression for MMA.
Certainly so, and I mean, he can actually try and buy time with these mines. We are seeing a Spore Crawler come up here. He can try to pick these mines up if he wants to try and save them.
Oh, even getting the active creep tumors with the Hellions. MMA is all over this game. He is playing out of his mind right now. Nerchio is getting pressured on all fronts. He's just getting no space to build up that economy. Look at this, even sniping an Overlord with these Marines. MMA is just being so irritating.
Yeah, it's just constant multitasking, constant harassment. We did see the mine hit go off again, claiming another 5 drones. Absolutely ridiculous, incredibly tilting as well for Nerchio. And this is what Nerchio should be expecting from MMA, constant aggression from all sides.
Oh, very nice transfuse on the Queens from Nerchio. Does deflect those Hellions for now. He has managed to re-spread those creep tumors, so he does still have the beginnings of good creep, but the aggression is not done yet. We have Cloak about to finish. We have an Armory about to finish. It looks very much like MMA wants to go into mech behind this, but first of all, we're going to have Hellbats, we're going to have Banshees.
Yeah, this is going to create a bit of a problem, though. We do see a nice interception with the Lings, and those Banelings are waiting just in case Hellbats will come onto the map. Great intercept there. Going to keep him alive a little while longer.
Meanwhile, Hellion Drop going into the main. MMA is just coming from all sides. He feels the advantage he has, and he is not going to let Nerchio just sit there and catch up. Look at this, morphing Hellbats in the main. Meanwhile, Hellbats at the front, a Banshee at the third base. MMA is hitting from all sides at once.
Soaked up a lot of Banelings, only lost 1 Hellbat. Can save them as well. Very nicely done. As well as this complete disruption of the third base with this Cloaked Banshee.
Oh, back at home, we see multiple factories being added on for MMA. More Banshees and Hellions are rallying across the map. The pressure is not letting up yet, but his third command center is already finished. MMA is making that transition, and because he's done so much damage here, Nerchio is in a lot of trouble. The Queen's coming in to defend, does manage to snipe down that Banshee, relieving a little bit of the pressure.
He's going to really start to relieve a lot more pressure if he can defend this and as well as get mutas on the map, because there isn't really much anti-air right now for MMA. And here we go.
Cute pickups on their Hellbats with that medevac, just picking up the weakened one and dropping it down so it doesn't get focused. There's only a few Queens here. He is morphing Banelings, but MMA splitting 2 Hellbats into the third. He is going to charge into this drone line, and he wants to kill these drones right now.
He's chasing down the Queens as well, keep them out of range of this 1 Banshee, though 2 coming from behind should be able to clean it up. Baneling's actually detonating a 1 Hellbat as well.
Oh no, those Hellbats at the back are still killing Queens. The Hellbats at the third have killed 14 drones so far. Nerchio manages to hold on pretty impressively, but no, the drones running back into the Hellbat.
Oh, this is horrible. Horrible situation. His economy is in shambles right now. You cannot afford to lose 17 drones at this point in the game. He is so far behind in economy. We're looking at the Harvesters, and there's still mules in play from 3 command centers.
Oh, what does Nerchio have to do to get back in control of this game, Glade?
That is an excellent question, and I mean, a counterattack with Zerglings to start things off, try and disrupt the mining of the third base is a good start, but he needs to identify what he's up against. He's going 1-1 with Lings, and it's mech. And usually, as a Zerg player, you don't really want to invest in these kind of upgrades this early on, unless you're planning to go to a later, maybe Ultralisk sort of tech, but it's miles behind.
Just trying to get his basic infrastructure up right now, isn't he? He's seen the Thors, he should know what's coming, but he's just very far down in supply, looking to stabilize, looking to get his economy up, because that's all he can focus on right now. And we do see a Roach Warren coming down for Nerchio.
Seems like he may have just identified. It's like, okay, I know for sure you are going this. I probably need roaches on the map to help out against these Hellbats. And this is a good start for Nerchio to try and come back into this. He kind of has to take a step back, cool down a little bit. He's been under stress this entire game long. He's starting the creep spread again, stabilizing with his economy. He just really has to keep this going and try and avoid any sort of more economic damage.
A second Roach Warren has actually gone down for Nerchio, and I think that's got to be a mistake, because if you're going double upgrades, I mean, really, that tunneling clause, it can help, but investing this extra money when you're already behind, like, Nerchio is looking at a situation where he just doesn't have the numbers. He does realize that now and replaces that Roach Warren with a Hydralisk Den. Good catch up by him.
It would have been a pretty awkward sort of upgrade to have going as well, considering you are going +1 melee attack. So it's like, well, I mean, if you're going to invest that much into roaches, maybe you just want to invest in that ranged attack as well.
Oh, Hellions are just distracting on the left-hand side, trying to pull the mobile defense over here. Meanwhile, a huge Hellion run-by on the right-hand side of the map. It looks like it's going to dive in towards the third base.
This is certainly one of the things you have to worry about. Whenever you're fighting a mech player, these Hellions, especially once Blue Flame has completed, are going to toast her in so quickly. Denying the creep as well with these Hellions is a pretty big play, pretty important play. If you can deny it as much as you can, especially as a mech player, it's going to make the engagements later on so much simpler for the Terran player.
MMA is got his eyes set on the semi-final He's already looking to his next opponent. He is looking at this game and he's saying to himself, I have a huge mech army, you have nothing, I'm going to push across here. And Nerchio has done what he can to try and catch up here. He has roaches, he has hydras, he's morphing some banelings, but when you are down 40 supply against a mech army, I mean, this mech army is so efficient. Every bit of supply in that mech army is worth a lot more than the Zerg supply. And look at that paltry force of roaches.
That's
MMA
right.
is just pushing here. There's a great creep spread, but creep spread alone cannot stop this mech force.
This is the end result of what happens when you take so much economic damage early. The Terran can run away with it like this and set up for huge pushes like this. Nerchio might just be going for this one last stand here.
Oh, a great flank with the roaches from the side. A couple banelings coming in. These Hellbats at the front are just taking so long to die. They're killing so many roaches and hydras, and those tank volleys at the back just split the Zerg army to pieces.
Just complete cost efficiency here. The perfect composition against what he's up against. You know, pure roach with some hydra, some ling bane. Not going to do much against Thor tank Hellbat.
No, not in these numbers anyway. Roach is coming in these small numbers. Nerchio is trying to hang on. He's not willing to give up yet. He is in a desperate situation, but MMA is looking to take a very quick 1-0 lead in this set. A very commanding game one. He wants to close this out in these next minutes.
He's sending a message right now, and that message is, I am way too strong for you, and I plan to go mech GG. And as I said, go mech, I mean, MMA is not really the kind of player to go mech. We've been seeing it more and more recently, but it's a new addition to his strategies.
Yeah, his repertoire is kind of being expanded there. And sometimes a player just feels like, hey, this style is really good. And even if it's not where my roots lie, I'm gonna practice it. I'm gonna get really good at it. MMA's been playing it in the other matchup as well, in TvT, the other matchup where it's viable.
Right.
I really look at that game that we just saw as Nerchio being a little bit slow off the jumping block, like a little bit slow to start off the race, losing a drone early on, even though he caught that Reaper eventually, he lost so much mining time, it was annoying him, forcing delays, he forgot about his Overlord at the natural, it got sniped down, and from there, it just felt like he would have needed to play a really crisp, clean game and almost outplay MMA from there. But MMA showed as soon as there was like that weakness and he had that little bit of extra room, I feel like MMA spiraled out of control and he just had too much leeway to multi-prong.
Yeah, when you kind of have that control of the game as a Terran player and you are doing that economic damage, it gets very comfortable. He's looking very confident. I mean, it is only game one of a best of 5, so you can't read too much into it from both players. Very important to stay calm at this time and focus on that second game. Don't want to let it run away from you just yet.
MMA's had his ups and downs in his career, and he wants this tournament to be a new rise in his performance. He wants to do really well here. Let's hop into the next map on Terraform and take a look at what he can do. Spawning up here on the top left-hand side of Terraform, we have our Terran representative from Korea. It is MMA.
Down here at the bottom right, we do have the red Zerg player from Poland. He is Acer's Nerchio. Pretty frustrating game one for him. Has to keep his head in it there and has to be prepared for the mech style that we are seeing from MMA. This is one map where mech is, I think, might be the scariest in the map pool. This is one of the most ruthless maps for it because it is so hard to try and engage in the late game. Planetaries in the right places just pretty much block up the entire map, and it gets almost impossible.
And look at this sneaky play from MMA. You were talking about it at the start of that first map, Glade. He loves his cheeky plays, and this one is the 8 racks, 8 gas. So MMA has actually cut his SCV production, cut his economy very, very early to get down the fastest possible barracks and gas. He is going to be hopping Reapers into Nerchio's base very early on.
Well, that Overlord is certainly going to get a scout of it. Not a bad choice at all from MMA, though. You know, after winning game one, you do have that extra little bit of comfort to try and throw out a cheese like this. Nerchio, being the very safe player he is, should be, will be checking for it in just due time, but he's still going to go for that hatchery first.
We saw this on one of the earlier days, I believe, of the open bracket where it was scouted in this position, but this barracks is a little bit further away, so Nerchio's not going to get wind of it until just now, and he's already started his 16th drone.
Yeah.
He may want to even cancel one of those drones. He definitely just needs to get his spawning pool down as quickly as possible. On the plus side, Nerchio knows it's coming, so he's mentally preparing right now. He's saying, I need to put down this spawning pool, I need to build Zerglings and Queens as soon as I can, But most important of all, I need to have sick drone micro. I need to pull back those weakened drones so quickly.
And I mean, we go back to game 1. He was losing drones to a normal timed Reaper, simple harassment / scouting. This time around, this is pure aggression. This Reaper is built, well, many Reapers actually, are going to be built to kill the drones and disrupt the economy for as long as possible. Nerchio, he's got to be up to it this time. He cannot afford to let the mistakes that happened last game come into this one.
MMA's first Reaper's coming in. Keep in mind, this is not a complete all-in, but he does need to do a lot of damage. He needs to kill at least 3 or 4 drones and really waste a lot of mining time here. Look at this Reaper, microing back carefully. Nerchio trying to pull his weak drones away, but one of them is isolated and already does go down.
He wasn't attacking that SCV for a little bit of time too. I think he could have got it if he was paying attention. Instead, the SCV survives, going to go back to building up that bunker.
Doesn't want to let that bunker get up. Nerchio is losing a lot of mining time in his efforts to stop it. That weak SCV is exposed. He does focus it down. Nerchio kills the SCV and stops that bunker in its tracks.
It's a great start here. A second drone is going down though. Plus those 2 already starting. A spore. Oh, cancel just in time.
Just in time. His Zerglings have run off creep while he was looking at that though. So he did lose those Zerglings and these Reapers are still very healthy. The first Queen is still not finished. These drones are starting to pull back. 2 Reapers can start to kill these very quickly. Another drone goes down. Looks like MMA though gonna actually pull back. Oh, maybe could have got another drone there. Instead, gonna start whittling down this Zergling count.
Yeah, the damage is actually starting to get out of hand here, and now a third Reaper is going to be added. If he can keep these 2 alive until they all meet up together, he could be doing a lot more damage with the kiting. Let those combat drugs heal them up just a little bit.
Oh yeah, the Reapers are jumping back into the main. The Queen is out of position, the Zerglings are out of position. They are going to try and get another drone kill, but 2 more Zerglings pop out and they fend them off just in time. Now keep in mind, Nerchio has no gas, so MMA is going to have the mobility here. Nerchio building these slow Zerglings, there's no point where suddenly they can hunt down the Reapers, and MMA has seen this. So really, Nerchio needs to build up more Queens. He needs to build up more of these beefy units which can fight the Reapers head-to-head in the long term.
Yeah, well look at this. This is a huge problem as well, because the natural, there is no extra Queen building. He's going to DPS down the natural Queen to be below half health. Now a 4th Reaper is added in and a 5th on the way. It's very well, like you said, you know, he identified the fact there is no gas. That means Reapers are going to be a lot more relevant for way longer.
Oh, luckily Nerchio realizing he doesn't have that mobility. His Queens can only guard 1 spot, so his Zerglings actually blocked the ledge when the Reapers tried to jump up, and now he's forcing MMA to engage onto his Queens. These Queens are getting very low. They don't have transfuse energy yet. They've actually been dropping injects rather than saving for that, and the Queens are getting very low. They need these extra Queens to pop out. The Reapers as well are just having a sliver of life on those 2 back Reapers.
That's right. Speaking of red health, I mean, look at those Queens. Just 1 volley from 4 Reapers will do the trick on both of them. Has to be so careful, and now the main base is completely exposed because the Lings were forced down into the natural.
This is such a hard position. However, because Nerchio has played this gasless style, he has a really great economy getting up behind this. He's getting a lot of drones, but if these Reapers get out of control in here, things could be all for naught. All that economy could get shut down very quickly.
Well, here we go. He's actually going to get rid of a couple of the Reapers, but a Queen is going to forfeit their life for it. So a little bit of a redemption there for Nerchio, and it might actually slow down this aggression from here onwards, considering that Rax is flying back home now.
Looks like MMA is only going to have these 3 Reapers. He's going to maintain them for map control. But as we see more energy build up on these Queens, extra Queens pop out, it looks like the pressure, the main part of it, is over. It's time to assess the situation. Let's take a look at these worker tabs, and let's take a look at MMA's infrastructure as well. We have a 2nd command center there and a 3rd one. So the 2nd one's going to land at the natural, the 3rd one's almost finished. MMA is down about 9 or 10 harvesters, but he does have 3 orbitals about to finish up. Economy-wise, he's looking okay. Do you think either player's ahead at this point, Glade?
That's a great question. It really is about stabilizing at this point. I think MMA is kind of where he wants to be after this damage. He tied up Nerchio for the longest time. He slowed down the gas income. He actually killed a lot of units behind this. You know, for 2 Reapers so far, he has been very cost efficient. I think MMA certainly has the lead and the momentum right now. And it's about Nerchio kind of stabilizing from here, getting that 3rd base up and fixing his economy.
Looks like these Queens have started to lock down the front. The 3rd base is actually well along at this point, and we do see a Roach Warren about to finish for Nerchio. This hatchery is taking a lot of damage though. Nerchio looking like he may need to send those Queens up to save that very soon.
Oh, look at this, another potential run by here. Hellions want to go for the drone damage this time.
Dancing their way in and out. MMA taking a look around. Not sure if he wants to commit to it. This hatchery is getting very low. Time's running low for Nerchio. He does have 6 roaches on the way, so it looks like he will be able to defend this, but the hatchery is going to take a lot of damage for it.
A lot of damage, and soon to be Hellbats on the loose as well, as we see that armory moments from finishing up here. His queens are all very low as well, and they're stuck off creep.
Oh, getting so many queen kills. This is great for MMA. Really nice trade-off there. Does a good amount of damage, and he does keep 5 Hellions alive for map presence.
Well, MMA continuing to apply the pressure, but it looks like Nerchio is going to throw out a bit of a wild card here. Nidus Network. Where can he throw it, though? You know, he doesn't really have any vision on the map at all. And with this Viking denying Overlords, it's going to be very tricky to find a good Nidus location.
Gonna need to see an Overseer. This Overseer, this is the guy whose mission it is to spot for that Nidus. He needs to find the hole in MMA's vision and drop that Nidus worm, at which point we'll see Nerchio flood out Roaches and Lings. That's his plan. First of all, though, MMA has plans of his own, coming in with this Hellbat attack.
Well, it's going to be ambitious considering how many Roaches are now on the map. This actually might even give away the style and the strategy of what Nerchio wants to do, and if that didn't, this Medivac just might.
Oh, the Medivac coming into the main maze spot. If the Nidus Worm is already down at the front of the base, oh, MMA is actually building so many Hellions and actually going to Banshees at this point. He doesn't really have any siege tanks. He doesn't have any of those big anchoring mech units which will shut down this sort of Roach Queen Nidus attack.
This is such a brilliant decision-making from Nerchio. I mean, he saw the build, he saw the commitment from MMA, and now this Nidus is up and running. We only see 2 queens there so far, so maybe if he can get enough Banshees, he might have a chance at defending this.
Oh, but this is so many Roaches coming in. Those Hellions don't do anything here. Already routing the natural, MMA evacuating those SCVs. He says, this ramp, this is my strong point. I hold this ramp or I will die trying.
He's sitting there. He's going to be using a lot of SCVs as well, these Hellbats, to kind of buffer for this Banshee. And behind, I think we saw an attempt on that Nidus with these 4 Hellions.
Oh, the Queen's there shooting down the Banshee at the front. MMA trying to drop Hellbats on here, but he's even transfusing the Roaches. Nerchio is saying, I know your game. You want to play mech. You will not be prepared for this Roach attack, and it is doing massive damage right now.
Massive damage. That one tank cleaned up a lot of the Roaches, but more and more coming in. The second tank comes out now and is still blocking the choke.
Oh, it looks like MMA may actually hold this strong point. These Roaches are going down so quickly. Nerchio needs to pull out of there and just deny this natural. He needs to do more economic damage, and it looks like Nerchio is going to be held for now.
It's going to be held. We do see a lot more Roaches on the way, and now, only now, is Nerchio going back into drones. So he committed a lot to this attack, but he's almost twice the supply because of it.
MMA wants to reclaim this natural. These tanks are getting very eager to run down this ramp. Oh, he's doing a lot of damage to these Roaches. Nerchio is being a bit sloppy with his Roach control. He's got so many Roaches here. If MMA pushes down too quickly, he actually might be able to jump on top of those siege tanks. But with how many Roaches he's letting slip away, it could be really bad.
Huge mistake there from MMA, accidentally lifting up his main base command center. That's going to be a pretty costly mistake at this point, considering he's only mining from that base.
Oh, and he hasn't realized.
Oh, no.
He's actually set the rally point to the natural, and it's told the command center to move there, losing quite a bit of mining time there.
Yeah, must be all on the same hotkey, so a little bit of a mistake there, uncharacteristically, but under pressure, not a surprise.
Oh, Hellbat drop coming in, denying the mining on Nerchio's third, being a real pain in the butt for him. The Queen going down there as well. Very nice counter pressure from MMA. He knows he's taken a lot of damage. He needs to interrupt Nerchio booming up into economy and tech right now.
Yeah, anything he can do at this point. It looks like he's finally going to stop this this Roach pressure at the front from happening. You know, he's got enough tanks and Hellbats together to push it back, but he's going to have to start dealing with this creep, or he's... I mean, the Zerg's going to have complete vision of his army for the longest time.
That's a lot of creep spread to be sitting your army in the middle of. That's got to make MMA feel quite uncomfortable here. But he knows that he's taken a lot of economy damage, and he really needs to just be dropping those mules as fast as he can. Sitting in the middle of all these, it is going to be hard for Nerchio to spread any more creep tumors.
Certainly so, and we do see that scan go down to wipe everything out. But, you know, regardless of all this, Nerchio must be in a great place. He must be feeling so confident right now. We do see him take that 4th base gold, but he knows he's done the economic damage from here. He's traded with the army pretty effectively as well. MMA is going to be pretty desperate at this point, and he's going to be looking for something a little crazy.
MMA's got to be a little bit annoyed at how this game's gone so far. Being caught out by that Nidus Worm, a bit of a cheeky play surprising him. He's got to be a little bit frustrated with that. Now, his goal from here has to be to defend, to lock down, and to slowly rebuild. Nerchio, on the other hand, he has a lot of freedoms here. Is there any way that this game could slip away from him? What does Nerchio have to aim towards?
The scary thing, especially up against the Terran going for this mech style, is letting it go to the late game. Nerchio characteristically likes to go there, but if I feel if even Nerchio, if he lets it go that late, MMA can come back in a big way with a very cost-efficient army.
He's going to be trying to limit that this game. We actually see a drop upgrade as well as overlord speed on that production tab. This may be an integral part of Nerchio's plan to drop lots of roaches and hydras in multiple locations and really abuse the immobility of MMA's mech.
I love that.
A very tricky style we haven't seen a lot of in a long time.
Yeah, we certainly do not see many drops anymore, and you know, they are hard to pull off, especially when there's big turret rings. We do see this drop as well.
Oh, these Hellions coming in. MMA trying to be as annoying as possible, but not getting too many drone kills. The defense from Nerchio has been spot on here.
Going to be cleaned up. Only for 4 drones, nothing too bad.
Oh, Hellion run by on the top side as well. MMA coming in from multiple directions. He needs to do damage to slow Nerchio down. He doesn't want to let him just zoom up in economy. These Hellions coming in, picking up 7 drone kills already. They're going to run into the third base, but the Roaches shut it down before he can grab any more kills.
And look at the supplies right now. It tells a big story about where Nerchio and MMA are at. The worker supply, the army supply, 120 to 61. Literally twice the supply right now. Nerchio is looking to end this. He's made such a huge swell of Roach, Hydra. He can drop them as well, but he also has Vipers, so he could be going for that Blinding Cloud attack first.
And his frontal outpost of creep is still actually spreading creep backwards across the map towards Nerchio. He's got his queens up there, continuing to spread that. And this is just so fantastic, not only for launching an attack, but if MMA ever gets a chance to go on the offense, he is going to have to wade through an entire map of creep spread.
It really is something else to see creep spread like that. Kind of fun. It brings you back to like TLO with these overlord drops with queens starting in the middle of the map and building outwards.
But creep doesn't defend Hellions, unfortunately. These guys coming in for even more drone kills, really disrupting this high-yield gold mineral base. This is a fantastic pickup for MMA. These Hellions, they're not the important units later on in the game, so if he can trade these off to slow Nerchio down, trading a few Hellions there for 10 drones, that's a really good way to slow Nerchio down.
Yeah, that gold base is so exposed. It must be the most vulnerable base we've seen on most maps, because if you can just simply run by behind, work on the mineral line, or simply just run by.
Oh, the Vipers are coming in with some great blinding clouds. This is the moment Nerchio wants to seal this game, covering all the tanks in green blinding clouds. They are completely impotent, unable to fire at all, and the Roach Hydra is crashing through this army.
Still massive amounts of damage, a lot of tanks from behind, and these Hydras are slow right now. They're still upgrading their Hydra speed, so he's going to be pushed back once again.
Oh, he does kill a lot of MMA's army, though. It's still a fantastic trade, and if he can swing into this natural and get a bit more damage done, that would be great, but these other tanks at the third, they've moved far enough forward to all cover each other. Nerchio's backing off for the moment.
We do see more and more tanks being made, as well as the upgrades finishing up here. Blue Flame nearly done. If MMA can deflect one more of these attacks like the way he did, it's going to be hard for Nerchio to try and drop the hammer and end this.
Nerchio is actually getting a little bit overeager here. Because of those drone losses, he's only at about, I believe that was like 62 drones? 60 drones right now. That's not a large economy. We can see it reflected in Nerchio's bank. Oh, his army up here has been spotted by MMA. MMA sieging these tanks, realizing, oh my, there's a huge ball of Roach Hydra sitting right there. A drop coming in from the south. He's going to be dropping right on top of this army while flanking from 2 sides.
This should be more than enough this time around. Tanks have a very big weakness when it comes to multiple attacks, multiple angles, including drops, and the entire army has essentially been cleaned up.
A masterful flanking engagement from Nerchio closes out Game 2 and equalizes the series at 1-1.
Wow. Nerchio giving some back in a big way. That was a really nice game, especially when taking that damage early, defending, and, you know, stabilizing and coming back with that beautiful Nidus decision.
That was a sick play. I was looking for the drops and I was thinking, oh, we didn't use it in the first attack. That's such a shame. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, you've got this army coming from the top. You've got Roaches coming from the bottom, and MMA just got a little bit thrown off there. But
yeah.
Hey, did we just see the jacket come off?
I think we did. Things getting a little bit heated up here. A pretty big game, a frustrating way to go out as well. After claiming a little bit of a lead with that Proxy Reaper, I mean, I'm sure he thought to himself, you know what, I can very easily go into my mech style, and I should have no problem taking it to the late game.
Masterfully done. Nerchio, on the other hand, I have to commend that early game. It was like messy. It was hard. It's so hard to hang on against that, especially when you opt for that gasless option. I think it's like the manliest way to actually defend that, where you're like, I'm not going to build a spine and I'm not going to take gas. I'm just going to defend with like slowlings and queens. And sure, he took 4, maybe 5 drone losses, but he was building drones in the middle of the aggression. Like, he was really towing that line of greed, and I just think having that level of execution, I mean, after a little bit of a sloppy beginning to the series, he came in that one just really beautiful form.
Yeah, that confidence of being able to defend like that is something else as well. I must wonder, like, what if it was like something like a 2-rack sweep or beyond that? You know, what if MMA went full all in and just got the craziest amount of Reapers out? Then things become a little bit more complicated for Nerchio, but I'm sure he knows MMA better than most people.
May have been able to read into that. MMA there, looking like he's trying to collect himself a little bit. It's always this moment where you can take a really commanding game one, and sometimes you can get a little bit ahead of yourself. Maybe just be slightly careless, and maybe MMA is a little bit frustrated that he missed that Nidus Worm. There was that moment actually where the Medevac kind of skirted just around the vision.
So close.
He's probably going to watch that replay later and really shake his head in disappointment.
Yeah, it must be a bit of a blow to his confidence too, because of these guys' history and how in favor it is for MMA. You know, he's won, what was it, like 15?
I think it was like 13.
13 of the last 15 series. It's like, that's a huge number coming into this match, and to drop the second game like that, evening things up, he's got to be a little nervous now.
Yeah, he's actually never dropped a series, only a couple of maps to Nerchio
right.
here. So Nerchio's got he's looking to get that monkey off his back right now. First of all, he's got to defeat this guy, though. Spawning in the bottom left-hand side of Cactus Valley, it is MMA.
And now the Zerg player on a pretty comfortable map for his style, I have to say. In the red, he is Asia's Nerchio. Asia's Nerchio?
A little bit of a question there. I am Nerchio.
Well, I mean, Cactus Valley. We could have a look at the map to start things off, because it is such a big, beautiful map, especially for the Zerg race. You have a lot of space between your opponents, much easier to get your bases up, and much less likely that you are going to suffer to any sort of early aggression, especially from proxies.
Spot on. It's really hard for the Terran to do that. Of course, lately we have actually seen in the Korean scene a couple of people doing some cheeky 11-11 double proxy racks in the middle of the map at the Watchtower, but it doesn't look like that's MMA's plan this game. Now, in terms of the spawn locations, Glade, is this a good spawn location for Nerchio?
I think cross-map probably would have been a little bit more favored, but, you know, this certainly isn't one of the worst ones. He'll probably have to go for his fourth if we're looking that far into the game, up to the north of his main base, which is quite a distance away. Most of the times he'll always want to try and expand as close as you can, but never towards the Terran player. So he could be worse, but he should be able to make do with this.
Interestingly, we were talking about the possibility of that proxy racks in the middle, and Nerchio is just playing so safe. We saw him send the drone to the middle of the map. He's coming home now. Nerchio is saying, I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of minerals because I know you're a cheeky guy, MMA. In the past, you've 2-racked me many times. I'm not giving you that opportunity here.
Certainly not. Just playing that safe game as we expect. On the other side there, MMA taking a more greedy approach because of the map, you know. Terran also kind of favor from this, being it a 4-player map, so hard for any sort of rush to come his way. Early Zerglings to maybe even stop that command center. Not going to happen.
Command center first, quite a strong build on these 4-player maps. Something we see a lot of lately. I am very curious about MMA's mindset right now. I just really wish I could see inside his head. Is he thinking Cactus Valley is just a great mech map? We saw him do it against Sue the other day.
Do you think he would actually throw mech out again? He seems to be the trend we are seeing with MMA in this matchup currently.
I think, yeah, I'm almost getting that sense that he thinks this is the best way to play right now, and he's done it the last 2 games. I think he's going to keep doing it. Nerchio, on the other hand, he's gone for a very typical gas opening, and at this point in the series, you've equalized as Nerchio. You've got to be thinking to yourself, I can do this. You've got a bit of more confidence under your belt, and you as a professional Zerg player yourself, Glade, you would have had many experiences against Terran players where if things go bad, it can kind of spiral as a matchup, I think on either side, whether you're the Terran or the Zerg player. But after a win like that, do you think Nerchio is going to be feeling a lot more confident?
Yeah, I think his win was a lot more solid, you know, much more of a message to come across. You know, it's like he wins that game in the late game, dominating like he did. He must feel a lot better about it, and it might actually, you know, stop MMA from actually being that aggressive. You know, being too overly aggressive might actually make him retreat a little bit, go back and do a macro game where it's going to be even better for Nerchio.
Oh, 4 Zerglings coming out nice and early. It looked like a couple more on the map. I was excited for a moment thinking, did he build like an 8 Slowlings? Because like you can run past the bunker and do some crazy shenanigans. Looks like Nerchio is just being 100% safe versus the potential Reapers. And this is just such a, you know, an identity we're seeing around Nerchio. He loves to play safe. He loves to get to that mid game. And from there, he does his his own thing. He did drops in that previous game. We've seen him in the other matchups do all sorts of crazy compositions where he gets Brood Lords when no one else is. And I think he's just very much comfortable if he can get to that mid-game phase.
It's always something I really appreciate when you do see a player, especially at these times when StarCraft's being figured out pretty solidly for quite a while now, that they have their own ideas and they have their own styles. We usually see that in the form of like the best players we have in the world. They always bring that little bit of extra, a little bit of something different. And Nerchio, he still has that, which is great to see.
Adding on a couple more gas guys is Nerchio right now. A little bit curious to see where he's going with this build order. I think we will see a lair start up in the main base in the next couple of seconds, but it's a little bit hard to say exactly. Yeah, it looks like probably a 2-base Muta build with some very fast gas, so probably a big wave of Mutalisks he's looking to get out the moment his Spire finishes. Yeah,
much more of a traditional style in this matchup and something that's very much the norm in the current meta. You get out that 2-base Muta very quickly, means you have map control, you have potential for damage, and you can take your 3rd and 4th base much easier.
On MMA's side of the map, we do see that he's added that fast 3rd command center at the natural, and now a double engineering bay, I believe in the back of his main base. So that's actually the most greedy build you can do as a Terran player. 3 command centers, off a command center first, then your upgrades before any extra barracks, and only marine production. This is actually very vulnerable to something like a Roach Baneling attack, and that's why we see MMA looking for that information with this scan, and he sees extra gas geyser, a lair, and he says, I don't think there's anything dodgy happening here. I feel completely safe with my options this game.
He certainly made the right choice for this kind of matchup and well, this kind of build order matchup. And I actually am very excited for this mid to late game because this is probably my favorite sort of Terran versus Zerg. Muta, Ling Baneling up against, the bio style, bio mines. So explosive, so much attacking on the map, and it really comes down to pure macro more than anything else.
We can already see MMA's actually cut Hellion production. Oh, look at these Marines denying scouting. Once again, we actually do find Nerchio a little bit stuck in the dark. He still isn't really sure what MMA is up to. He does have an Overlord coming in here, spotting that 3rd command center, gets that vital information, so he can relax a little bit and say, okay, let's focus on drones, let's focus on economy. And that gives him a little bit of freedom, because otherwise he's worrying about all these early Hellbat attacks, right? But now I feel like Nerchio can feel very relaxed, maybe up until about the 12-minute mark when he can expect some medevacs entering the fray, and I guess that's when the Terran really starts to want to push back the creep.
Yeah, certainly. It really becomes that timing, but look at this, a huge run by into the natural as we just say that. And this is not looking too good at all, Pig.
Oh, getting 5 drone kills already. Make that 10 drone kills. The Queen's coming in. The drones are getting stuck on each other. These Queens trying to block. They do block the Hellions. The Hellions are starting to slip out. The drones are running back. The drones are panicking. 13 drone kills, and 2 of the Hellions do get out. A really nice pickup for MMA. However, on the other side of things, the Zerglings from Nerchio killing a couple of SCVs and Mules and doing a lot of damage to the orbital. I'd say a win there for MMA, but Nerchio doing a little bit of counter pressure.
Yeah, a little bit of counter pressure. Would have been a lot more if he actually got that orbital. Now that it's down below 700 HP, he's got to start to repair that, or that could be very vulnerable when the Mutalisks come out. Certainly a lot of momentum in MMA's favor after that too. That is like some real critical damage this early on in the game. Really slows down the Zerg from getting that 3rd base up and running. The Ling Bane army they want on this time of the map, so they can jump on top of a Terran army if they want to start denying creep.
Oh, really nice defense there from MMA. And these Mutas, the first Mutas are coming in, but they're running into Marines, almost losing 1 Mutalisk. Nerchio needs to be so careful. There's actually, I don't believe there's turrets in the main base, but he's going straight to the 3rd here. The turrets are only just going down. Nerchio expected there to be turrets, so he went for where he thought there'd be a weak spot. But MMA actually was being so greedy here, and Nerchio is missing out on his opportunity to get damage done to that SCV line.
Not finding anything just yet. He does kind of have map control because of these Mutas and all the scouting he'll ever want for at least the early part of this mid-game. Not looking for a 4th base either, kind of just fixing his economy after that huge Hellion run by, trying to get out the upgrades he needs, as well as the Ling Bane on the ground. Baneling that's actually very late as well, only just finishing now, so his Baneling speed is going to be incredibly late.
Oh, MMA has been relatively untouched this game, and keep in mind Nerchio did an incredibly safe build, right? 2-base Muta, you don't really have the room to lose those drones, whereas if you've done one of those fast 3-base builds, sometimes you can lose 10 drones and it doesn't even matter because you're just pumping units out, you've got so much lava, and we can see that reflected in the supply now, right? MMA with the untouched opening, as greedy as possible, up at 125 supply, all his reactors are kicking in, his 2nd factory is kicking in, he's starting to push out on the map, and Nerchio is only just kind of getting into his Zergling production phase. I really feel like Nerchio needs to hang on and take very good defensive fights on creep to get back in this game.
At the very least, you know, upgrades are going to be even when the engagement becomes, but I'm just worried about that army supply because we do see that double drop coming into the back. Banelings are waiting though, but if he drops on Banelings, he will be very cost efficient as well, and there you go.
Oh, really nice move from MMA. Banelings on their own cannot defend Marines when they spread out like that. This drop already doing huge damage. The army's pulling back, and at the same time, MMA is pushing into the third here with a huge squad looking like he wants to focus down even more drones. Everything is falling apart for Nerchio here. The spine crawl is moving up to the third base, but MMA has already killed a lot of drones, wasted a huge amount of mining time, and he's going to evacuate most of these units.
Yeah, he traded very efficiently as well with the army. So great play from MMA, and he's doing his standard sort of MMA style, constant aggression, multi-prong attacks, and he's really riding that momentum from here, and that's what it's all about with Terran at this part of the game. Constant aggression, you know, keep the Zerg on the back foot, keep trying to do the damage you can until you have the upgrade advantage, the army, a composition advantage.
Oh, even focus firing the Mutalisks up here. 2 Mutalisks go down. The medevac is just wasting more time. And because some of those mutas are out of position, guess what? MMA is pushing the southern side of the map again. Gonna hit this natural one more time. However, the Zerglings of Nerchio are in position this time.
Widow Mines though, they are active. Hitting actually the Mutalisks, very smartly done from MMA. He is so on point with his targeting.
Oh, that brutal Widow Mine shot just as he evacuates, kills a whole big ball of Zergling Baneling. It's like they were all trying to play touch the Widow Mine right as it was locking onto their faces. That was horrible. Really great hit for MMA.
You know what? As a Zerg player, I'm sure you feel this way too, Pig, as you look at this game. So many things that have happened in this series so far make you want to pull your hair out. MMA is so good at playing this very aggressive, frustrating style.
Nerchio is just always one step behind here. We see 2-2 versus 1-1 upgrades. This is such a strong point for MMA, and there's going to be a full minute and a half before Nerchio can equalize those upgrades. Oh, we see another double drop coming in on the top, as well as a big army pushing on the south side of this map. How does Nerchio split up his units? He's so far behind on supply.
Yeah, he really is running out of options. What does he choose to... What's his priority right now? The fourth base or the creep on the left side around the natural and the natural drones? He's got so much to worry about. He's making Morling and Bane, but he's got to split his army up very effectively and take these good fights.
Trying to get an infestation pit down for an eventual hive transition, but when you're on 125 supply this late into the game, you've got to just focus on right now. And yet another Widow Mine shot, taking out a couple of Banelings there. A very powerful move from MMA. Oh, look at this. Nerchio is just struggling to deal with a single double drop up here, even though it's the only attack right now from MMA.
His maneuverability is something, is phenomenal right now. It's exactly what we expect from the old MMA, but it's great to see it once again this time, this day and age. You know, he is really putting it on.
Really getting a lot of damage done there, buying a lot of time. Meanwhile, the creep on the southern side is beginning to recede, and a huge army is moving in here. There's not a lot of Widow Mines in here, but Nerchio just doesn't have a lot of stuff. Ooh, a couple of really good Baneling hits there. Actually getting a very nice trade, but MMA seems to have an endless horde reinforcing this.
Yeah, he's got to split up a little bit better than that. And he's got to make sure those Marauders are in front to try and at least absorb some of the Banelings as well. But, you know, the parade push has begun, and with a 40 supply lead like this, it's going to be a hard task for Nerchio to stop it.
Oh, coming in with small squads of Zergling Baneling. Nerchio knows he just does not have the numbers to engage this all at once. The only way he can fight this is if MMA gets over-eager, comes in a big clump, and the Banelings do work.
Oh, looks like we actually see one last big engagement, at least for Nerchio, with his current army as off-creep, essentially.
Oh, so many Marines surviving that engagement. The Marauders at the front are tanking, and Nerchio is forced out of that game.
One step closer to making it to Gamescom tomorrow. One more game for MMA.
Rubbing his chin there, he feels like, there we go, that's more like it, that's what we've been planning. And interestingly enough, we were talking about how we think he's just going to keep going mech, changing it up that game.
The mind games, man.
And that really messes up with the Zerg players' ideas, right? If you can assume what your opponent's going to do in a game of StarCraft, you can really mentally prepare yourself, you're looking out for the tells. But once again, that game, remember MMA, he was denying scouting. He did a really greedy build, which is a bit different to his aggressive openings in the previous games. So he's changing it up completely and then doing a completely different mid to late game style.
Yeah, he's really on point with his aggression so far and his mind games. And Nerchio, he's going to have to go into this next game and just, you know, change things up again. Think about what he has to do, how he has to handle this.
Will Nerchio be able to bring it back? Don't go anywhere, guys. We will find out right after this short break. Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Season 10 here at Gamescom. I am Pig, joining me is Moonglade. We have just witnessed a few really cool TvZs, a bit back and forth this series so far, Moonglade.
Yeah, constantly. I mean, it was really fun to see how it's turned out so far. MMA really showing some interesting styles. I love that he switched into Bio in that third game, completely throwing off Nerchio, and he just such impressive plays. He has such great control, which has always been one of the big things for MMA.
Nerchio there. His face getting a little bit red, feeling the pressure. You know, you get in that situation where you're in game, you play one of those games and the Terran players just pulling you this way, pulling you that. Nerchio is going to have to pull it together. We are going to be going into Iron Fortress.
And up here in the top right of Iron Fortress, we do have the blue Terran player. He is MMA.
Looking deadly serious there. Does have to finish off his teammate down here. This guy from Poland representing Acer Esports. It is Nerchio.
Yeah, MMA's been surprisingly serious so far this series, this whole series, and like before, like his persona, the way he was acting, he didn't really want to smile at the camera, didn't want to wink or do anything crazy. He was completely focused. He was lasered in on this game. He knew what he had to do. He knew it wouldn't be an easy one either, especially up against a teammate like this.
It's always hard when you're playing against a teammate. You don't want to show too much signs of elation when you're winning. You don't want to kind of rub it in their nose. And at the same time, you're also very afraid, right? Because they know how you play. You guys talk about the game together. You've sometimes lived together or practiced in houses together in the past. There's always this fear that this teammate of yours, your friend, your buddy, is also the guy who knows your weaknesses and knows how to exploit them.
Always. It's always a problem. And it's an interesting sort of thing to worry about with a game like StarCraft, which is based on like a 1v1. It's never really a team game, so it's quite unusual that there are teams out there. It makes sense for practice, but beyond that, it can be a pretty complicated relationship.
MMA here opting for that nice fast command center first again on this big 4-player map. I think Iron Fortress is such a great map for these kind of greedy openings from Terran. Sadly for MMA, it is cross-map, so there's going to be a very long rally path. And we really don't know what he's going to be throwing at us. Is it going to be mech? Is it going to be bio? Is he going to go for one of those very economic openings again? Or is he going to go hyper-aggressive? And all those thoughts have to be running through Nerchio's head right now.
Certainly. I'd be very surprised, though, if we do see mech on this map, especially from MMA. I mean, this map is probably one of the harder maps to try and get away with it because of how far apart the third and fourth base is. So difficult to defend, so difficult to spread your tanks effectively in all directions like that. And we did see, MMA going for that bio last game on a pretty big map. You can go mech on it, but you can really apply the pressure with the bio style, and makes much more sense on this one, I think.
I think it does, and I love to talk about how, I think bio is a much better choice on Iron Fortress. The third's further away. And then so many players just decide to go mech on it anyway, especially there's this guy called Flash, loves to go mech every TvZ on here, and I'm always a little bit surprised. Oh yeah, Sky High, of course, as well. Great player from CJ.
Very stubborn players will still do it no matter what. It's true. MMA, one of the more dangerous things as well is that he does do both. And I think that is the biggest fear that every Zerg player has, because it makes scouting so much more important. It's kind of so crucial. If the Terran player throws you off in the early game and you don't get a good scout off with the Overlord, then you find out later that you've been building the wrong tech, the wrong army against what you are going to be up against. You can simply just lose the game from then onwards.
And it looks like MMA is going to be opting for a very early second gas, and what this means is he's most likely going to be going into Banshee play after this factory, and that's not necessarily an all-in attack or anything, but it does give him that air superiority, the ability to not only shut down any aggression from the Zerg, but also to apply very mobile harassment.
Do you think that might just give him the option? Maybe he desires to go for the mech beyond this, because Banshee's always kind of lead on into something else like that, though. It's
actually a really clean transition, isn't it?
It's a very clean transition. Same time, though, you can go Hellion Banshee and go back into bio as well.
Interesting kind of order of the buildings here. MMA using the factory to build the tech lab. Looks like he is just mistimed that a bit, and it will swap over to build the Hellions. I thought he was about to start building siege tanks, and he does start Marines out of that barracks. I'm really curious what we're about to see here from MMA, because it's just a bit odd.
It's a bit strange. We are actually going to see a tank, funnily enough. Do you think Huh.
Oh, okay.
Tank drop.
All right. Actually, if I think about MMA's recent games, not recent, if we go back to earlier on in the year, when he took out Dark in GSL Season 1, something he did on Deadwing, exactly what Funko was showing us there, is you can actually put a tank across here and it can siege the mineral line on the third base, just like he used to be able to do on Deadwing. And MMA used that build back then to great effect against Dark. And if he gets a faster medevac after this Viking, we'll know that's what he's going for. Otherwise, he could just be getting it for defense.
Yeah, I do like this Viking. You know, it's going to remove any sort of chance of this being spotted until the very last minute. Though this tank is set up pretty outside that natural, so if a Ling tries to scout, he will see the tank as well. We'll see. We'll see whatever comes out of that starport next. It'll really give us an idea of what's going on.
Casting our minds back to early on in the previous game, I think Nerchio is going to be thinking, there is no way I am letting Hellions run into my base again this game. Last game, he sent all of his Zerglings around the map for a bit of a counterattack. I think he's just going to be locking everything down. If we look at this, he's got some nice map vision. He's taking his third, and he's actually rushing up to his Spire very fast.
Yeah, another quick spy like this. I do like this. As well as, you know, the third base nearly finished as well. So he's had a lot of freedom. Not really any pressure. No Hellions on the map to stop it because of that early command center.
Interestingly, a single medevac is in production as well as Hellions, so this can be a great way to execute this. If we see that medevac pick up that tank, it can start sieging that third base, and the Hellions can guard it from any sort of Zergling flank. Very curious to see if he goes for that. It isn't the most all-in pressure by any means. However, let's keep in mind, Nerchio's actually done that unencumbered build. You said there, you know, he's teched up really fast. He's actually going to have the Spire kicking in very soon. Doesn't Mutalisks just shut this down?
They certainly would. If they are out in time, there's a very small window of opportunity for MMA with this aggression, and I think the Ling spotted that that medivac. If he was paying attention to the one that was at the fourth base, he'd have an idea that it was there. So we do have a quick look at that Ling, and
interestingly enough, not a tank drop. It's just going to be a Hellion drop. Very old school here from MMA, but something which can catch a player off guard.
It's going to have a lot of fog of war to play with in this one. You know, no sort of vision around the main base of Nerchio. Could come back to bite him. There's nothing here to defend.
Oh, the Mutas are about to pop. They will be able to shut this down, but these Hellions are going to come in with nothing to stop them immediately. 4 drones already go down. A 5th drone goes down. MMA mistargeting a few of these drones. Does need to kill as many as quickly as possible. 1 Hellion goes down. Another one goes down. All the Hellions are dead. They did manage to pick up 9 drone kills, though. That was probably quite okay for MMA. I think that was worthwhile.
It was worthwhile, if not only for the drone damage. The scout of the Mutas already out on the map. He's like, okay, I need turrets now. I need Widow Mines in position to kind of deflect them for now. And he's got to try and get everything off the map because Mutas are going to try and shut down anything they find.
The Mutas are coming straight across here. The Vikings running home. MMA is looking to consolidate, make sure there's nothing left out on the map. And this gives absolute map control to Nerchio. We can see the unexpected side effect of this is the creep spread that is now flooding across that map from Nerchio. He has the freedom to do this because MMA is thrust back into a defensive stance.
Yeah, complete map control and complete lockdown for the Terran player. You know, he has no vision he has no idea what's going on the map right now. He could be a 4th base going up, along with all this creep spread. He could be going straight into Hive. There's all the options in the world for Nerchio right now. It's such a hard place to be as a Terran player. He did find enough damage that he can follow up pretty effectively, and we are seeing looks like a double drop from one way and a single from the other.
Can actually fly right over this Zergling here. It does change direction so quickly. MMA's reactions are so good. Not sure if Nerchio actually picked up on that. If we look at the minimap, the left-hand side is very bare of Overlords. Nerchio is only sending them out now, but they're slow Overlords. They're going to take a while to get in position to spot this. Now, keep in mind, though, just a couple of drops of medevacs, like, there's Mutalisks out. If they catch this, they could shut this down very quickly.
Oh, I think they just might too. They're rallied into them. MMA's got to be paying attention, and he's not.
Oh, he boosts right past, starts to drop the Marines. The Mutas know they can't shut this off right now, and because the Zerglings have pulled out of position to support the Mutalisks, this drop over here is actually in prime position to get a couple of drone kills and waste a lot of mining time.
Not really finding any critical economic damage so far. A big trade here.
Oh, that's actually enough Marines to fight this, I think. But the Mutalisks focusing down the medevacs takes away the mobility, takes away the real aggressive threat of those Marines. Very nice shutdown by Nerchio.
It should give MMA the option as well to move his CC out into the map, take a 3rd base as well, try and even up the economy just a little bit here. And we can look at supplies while this is all happening as well, and MMA actually pretty impressive army supply right now.
If we look at his engineering bays in the back, he's actually forgotten to start 2-2. His 1-1 finished a while ago, and he has completely forgotten to do that. He actually doesn't even have the gas for it. So he's actually frozen up on 1-1, and his upgrade advantage is starting to disappear, only just now remembering to begin that +2 attack.
Looks like he is gearing up for one big hit on this third base. He's got a little bit of mines, but he's got to go through a lot of creep, which is the scary point here.
25 Banelings are morphing. Looks like Nerchio is taking this very seriously. A lot of Widow Mines in there, though, but with so much creep spread, Nerchio may be able to find the fight he needs.
Oh, tank not set up either. This is a big mistake from MMA to be a little too forward with it.
Oh my gosh.
Clean up everything.
A tank hit on the back killed about 12 Banelings with one shot. That was absolutely brutal. There's only a few Zerglings and Banelings left here on the ground. There's a lot of Mutalisks in the air, but if there is enough Marines left, they can deal with this.
Just enough Marines left. The Mutas should be forced back from here.
Oh.
I think MMA is tasting that victory, maybe tasting that chance to go to to Gamescom tomorrow, trying to play in the round of 4.
Oh, he's seeing victory is in his sights right now. He wants to take this 3-1 victory. Nerchio is struggling so hard. Oh, the Widow Mine shot's actually friendly firing the Medivacs, but the Mutalisks only have a fraction of life left. And this Siege Tank in the back, it just keeps killing units. This Siege Tank has got 19 kills already, and the Endless Parade is here. MMA is ignoring the creep spread. He doesn't care about it. He just has more stuff.
Yeah, non-stop from here. Nerchio really has to get an army together to try and overwhelm it completely and force him off the creep. If he can do that, he's going to be ahead in a big way, but as it is right now, down 30 supply, about to lose the third base hatchery. He's in a lot of trouble.
Oh, the third base goes down. All the drones trying to run over to the fourth. Nerchio trying to just focus down some of these Widow Mines and then withdraw. He needs to make more Banelings, more Zerglings. He needs to hang on, but this is not an all-in from MMA. He has 3 bases fully saturated. He's got his 2-2 on the way. Nerchio needs to hang on, but he is seeing his tournament life disappear in front of his eyes.
Well, he's got one more base up north to try and defend, keep the economy at least even. But the army supply is the biggest problem here. He's coming forward once again with these Banelings, looking for the hits.
Oh, look at these splits from MMA, pulling everything back. The Widow Mine shots, the spread, everything goes down, and MMA forces Nerchio out of that game, taking the series 3-1.
Beautifully executed from MMA in that game. And we knew what he had to do. He applied the pressure early on that Hellion drop, building some momentum, slowing down the economy, and getting a good scout on those Mutalisks really helped out, defending them, deflecting them. And he built up that army so quickly. He had such an army supply. He moved onto the creep, despite the creep being fantastic from Nerchio.
Yeah.
He went straight on it. He was like, you know what, I'm just going to fight on creep. I don't even have to clear it. I just have to make sure my splits are good and that tank is set up in an ideal place.
Yeah, I think it was so good how MMA managed to... Normally, like, you see Mutalisks out on the map, right? You can't really pressure the Zerg too much, and that's what Zerg does. He says, well, I'll be a bit behind in the upgrades, but I'm going to have more creep spread, and have more freedom to drone up. We saw MMA say, you know what? 3 medevacs filled with Marines. I'm going to come from 2 sides. And he actually managed to distract Nerchio from his economy enough, make the third base empty out before it could refill, just through multitasking and control. And he actually preserved a lot of those Marines. The Marines on the north side escaped. The Marines on the right side got away in their medevac. So when the push ended up coming, he just kind of distracted Nerchio, slowed him down enough that he could just ignore the creep spread and just kind of steamroll.
It really is something else when you have like a tank with your Widow Mines. It makes everything that much harder to engage into, because as we saw, like, that tank blew up a crucial amount of Banes at the most intense time. They were like nearly at the Marines, and the tank turns and shoots. And it makes everything so much harder, even on creep.
Yeah, it kind of adds that staying power, doesn't it? Where if it's just Widow Mines, the Zerg can take their time and actually be efficient, sending small squads to buy time. But you engage with only a couple of units and there's a tank shelling in the background, it's always going to be horribly cost inefficient.
Yeah, certainly so.
All right, guys. Well, MMA is ready for that winners interview. So, Sean, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Joined here by MMA, our 3rd quarterfinalist. Congratulations, MMA. A good victory. But one thing that I wanted to talk about is there wasn't a lot of emotion from you after that victory. You came down here, you kind of shook your head a little bit. Talk to us about your thoughts after that match.
일단 진출 축하드려요, 무서워 선수. 일단 경기 끝나고 지금 인터뷰하러 이 데스크까지 오시는데 좀 뭔가 좀 마음에 안 드는 표정이었거든요. 어느 정도 지금 기분이 어떤지 좀 설명 좀 해주시죠.
좀 제가 느끼기에는 좀 8강에 어울리지 않는 그런 경기력이었다고 생각해서 계속 게임하는 내내 좀 답답했고요. 그 게임하는데도 좀 많이 잘 안 돼가지고 그래서 그랬던 것 같아요.
All throughout the games, I wasn't really myself. I didn't feel like things were going as as normally. So first of all, I'd like to apologize for not showing you guys the greatest games, or at least the game that's worth it for round of 8, at least from me. Pretty sure things will change as tomorrow approaches.
Well, very honest there, MMA, but don't think you need to apologise for getting to the top 4. It's your 3rd semi-final now in the Intel Extreme Masters. Not sure if you know that or not. You got 2 in 2012 in Season 6, 3rd one now. It's obviously not going to be an easy match in the semi-finals, no matter who it is, 4GG or Innovation. What are your thoughts on the upcoming potential match you could have?
자, 이제 IEM 참가하시면서 4강에 이제 3번째 올라오시는 게 되는데 2012년 뒤로는 약간 좀 딱히 IEM에서는 성적을 못 거둬서 이제 여기까지 올라오게 됐는데 그 다음 상대가 박주 선수 아니면 이시영 선수거든요. 그 선수들에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지?
두 선수 다 정말 잘하는 선수라고 생각하고요. 박지수 선수는 또 유럽에서 살면서 지금 뭐 컨디션이나 뭐 이런 시차적응 같은 게 필요 없어서 더 유리할 것 같고, 또 신영이는 뭐 워낙 한국에서부터 잘하지만 얘가 해외만 나오면 마탱이가 가더라고요. 그래서 뭐 그것만 좀 잘 극복하면은 정말 재밌는 게임 나올 수 있을 것 같아요. 저는 뭐 그리고 뭐 둘 다 누가 올라오든 상관없어요.
I'm not really concerned about who makes it or who becomes my opponent for tomorrow's matchup. But first of all, 4GG, great player, solid, and this is his home turf. I mean, he doesn't really look like, he may not look like one, but like this is his home turf. He lives here in terms of, time adjustments and everything. Like he feels home when he's in Europe. Innovation, he's from Korea. I mean, he's solid back in Korea, but every time he comes out to the foreign scenes, he has tendency to muck up and play really, really pathetically.
Pathetically?
So I don't know.
Okay, so MMA mentioned he's not entirely satisfied with your games today. I mean, I know he understands everything, so I'm talking to you, but I know you can understand everything anyway. What has to happen overnight? Is it a good night's sleep? Is it really good food? Is it a lot of beer to sleep well? I mean, what needs to happen tonight to make sure you feel great tomorrow?
자, 문성원 선수 아까부터 계속 경기가 좀 마음에 안 들었다, 오늘 경기를 마음에 안 들었다 하셨는데 내일 이제 4강 그리고 결승도 남아 있는 만큼 어떤 식으로 컨디션 관리에 들어가실지요?
일단 빨리 숙소로 들어가서 좀 편안하게 쉬어야 될 것 같고요. 그리고 이제 신영이랑 그 뽀지 선수 경기 보면서 좀 전략을 구상해 봐야 될 것 같아요.
I think I need to get to my hotel ASAP. Sleep first. Wake up feeling fresh. Check out the VODs on whoever that made it through.
Okay, one final question then. So when you wake up in the morning of a tournament, what's going through your mind? So this morning, tomorrow morning, is it only thinking about the games? Is it relaxing? Jadon, for example, likes to go for a run to clear his head before the games come up. What happens in MMA's mornings?
경기 당일날 이제 일어나서 이재동 선수 같은 경우에는 한 바퀴 좀 달리기를 하면서 좀 정신도 좀 차리고 정신 집중하는 그러고 또 누구는 누군지 말은 안 하겠지만 아침에 일어나면 꼭 모닝 응아를 하러 가는 사람들도 있는데 컨디션 관리를 당일날 어떤 식으로 하시는지요?
저는 유럽 올 때마다 저희 친구 블라이랑 같이 방을 쓰는데 걔랑 저랑 좀 많이 극과 극이에요. 그 친구는 좀 선풍기 바람을 쐬면은 좀 되게 싫어하는 타입이고 저는 되게 더워가지고 선풍기를 꼭 쐬야 하는 타입인데 그래서 문도 못 열게 하고 저는 더워 죽겠고 그래서 지금 호텔 안에서 좀 많이 힘든 상황이에요. 그래서 지금 블라이가 오늘은 좀 배려를 해줘서 이길 수 있지 않았나. 오늘은 선풍기 키고 자게 해줬거든요.
Normally when I come to European tournaments, I always share a room with Bly. Bly is absolutely an amazing guy, but here's a little thing. Him and I, we get together outside, well outside of the hotel, but inside the room, he likes to sleep in an absolute heating, confined heat. He likes to sleep with that. And I can't really do it. I need fan. I need cool breeze hitting my face. Today, actually, well, I guess that's last night. But last night he let me, have the fans turned on. So I think that's how I was able to somehow manage through today. And I'm pretty sure he'll do the same for me, tonight. So I guess
It's
with
all
the
on Bly,
fan on.
basically.
It's all on the Bly. It's all on the Bly.
Bly, I know, I can see you right there. fans are on tonight, mate. Thank you very much, MMA fighting, ladies and gentlemen. MMA makes it to the semi-finals and will play at Gamescom tomorrow. Congratulations once again, MMA. Do you believe now?
Yeah, I
Yeah, he believes. He believes.
Hashtag believe.
Let's check in with the bracket for one last time here before we get ready for our last quarter-final. As you can see, MMA makes it through Nerchio and is in the semi-finals. He will go up against the winner of either 4GG or Innovation, our next quarter-final just around the corner. Do make sure to check out all the action, as always, at plays.tv. I know some of you are just tuning in, just waking up in America right now. Go to plays.tv, see all the highlights, find recommendation videos, and all the first-person shots from our players this weekend. We're going to a break. When we come back, 4GG goes up against Innovation in a Terran vs. Terran you don't want to miss.
In the 18th century, Cologne became famous thanks to, well, cologne. In 1709, the first eau de cologne fabric was established by an Italian named Johann Maria Farin. In a letter Farina sent to his brother, he described the scent he created with the following words: "I have found a fragrance that reminds me of an Italian spring morning, mountain daffodils and orange blossoms after the rain." The most famous original eau de cologne is 4711, named after its location, Glockengasse 4711. It was also developed in the 18th century by Wilhelm Mullens and is therefore one of the oldest still produced fragrances in the world.